Hi, everyone. Welcome to Me, You, and Who. On today's episode, we are talking to Blake Encalade. He entered the world of surrogacy and egg donation as a spouse when his wife decided that she wanted to help create happy families in both these ways. We talk about what it meant to be supportive in that, how that has changed their life forever, what it was for him in ways that he was supportive to her. And it was just an amazing, amazing chat to listen to him and, what it looks like to be that support person when your partner has decided to move forward on this journey. So please enjoy Blake Encalade. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Well, Thanks for taking the time to do this podcast and
Absolutely.
have people get to know you and just this side of the world of just infertility and surrogacy and egg donation and all of that fun. So I think my first question is, so for those who don't know, you were Blake Encalade. You are married to Katie Encalade, who Katie is a one-time egg donor.
Yes.
And went through one journey as a surrogate.
Yes.
And this was after you both were married.
Yes.
And so you've been the spouse and partner and just, supporting cast for her journey and all of that. Prior to you even, I guess, meeting Katie and all of that, did you even know that this was a thing in the world?
Egg donation, absolutely not. No. And I think I probably, when I thought of surrogacy, probably thought of, the old traditional surrogacy, right? Like that's the only concept of it that I had even considered. I mean, I'd heard the word before, I knew what it meant, but didn't have any idea what it looked like, or obviously like how it would affect both families and impact both families in such a powerful way. So no, I was not keen to any of that, really.
Yeah. So when Kate, what was that conversation even like, I guess, whenever she first came to you with, hey, this is something that I want to do? Like, how did that even go?
So yeah, first was egg donation. And, at the time, we were a young married couple. And she had a teacher in high school who had a child via egg donation.
Okay.
So it was something that she was familiar with, and she loved this teacher. I am actually we are both now friends with the product of this egg donation cycle. Like she is in college. She's in college at Baylor. We've kind of served together at church. It's kind of a really neat story. But so she had been familiar with it for a long time. She brought it to me and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. If that's, for me, there was really no, consideration of, this is your DNA that's going out into the world. It was just a way that she can help someone, obviously benefit a little bit as well. But she's such an entrepreneur and has these crazy ideas all the time that it's just like, okay, this was the next one. So yeah, she was an egg donor. Gosh, that would have been probably 2006.
Okay.
When she was an egg donor. Um, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was a fairly uninvolved process for me. I mean, she had a few doctor's appointments and um, some injections that she took, but I think I may have helped with those. But outside of that, it was fairly uninvolved. She had a pretty simple cycle, so yeah, and then soon after that, she actually went to work for the agency that she donated through.
Right.
Um, that was kind of and it was obviously pretty quick, like a pretty fast and furious intake of all the information about the industry at large, just because of her being in it and it being her main source of income. And so I learned a lot about it then. And then she started working with Gail as well on the surrogate side. So when she brought that to me, the idea of her being a surrogate, I was much more familiar with the process and that world than when she first brought the egg donation thing to me. I still wouldn't say I understood all of what it meant at the time, but I knew the ins and outs of it, I guess, like what it meant, her being a surrogate, what that meant for us and for the family that she was helping. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, especially the egg donation side, I went into it pretty blind. The surrogate
Mm-hmm.
side, I had not talked to any GC's husband before or anything like that, but at least on her side of it, I knew what it meant. I didn't really have any idea what it would mean for me and our family and our kids at that time.
So I guess at what point during, y'all's time frame, she was an egg donor and it was just the two of you. At some point you guys had kids and then
Yes.
she became a surrogate.
Right.
Post, I guess, you guys having your own kids, did
Yeah.
you have any like, oh, these kids that we've just had, they have people that they're related to out there? Was that ever a thought?
So honestly, like she did one egg donation cycle and was about to do another when we found out we were pregnant with our firstborn.
Oh.
Yes. Yes. She probably would have, and that was not planned at all. Like our pregnancy, it was not something we were trying for. Um, so she probably would have gone on to do several more egg donor cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, had we not been pregnant, and then we just started fast and furious having these kids. We had three in what, 4 years, basically 3 and 4.5 years. So yeah, that was, and like I said, that was about 2008. She did the egg donor cycle. We had kids in 2008, 10, and 12.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I mean, honestly, like, yes, I do know that there is one, maybe even more. 'Cause I know that her cycle, like, they had a successful pregnancy after her donor cycle. So I know that there is one or maybe even more from that same cycle child out there that has her DNA. But to me, and maybe it's just my familiarity with the industry now,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea that like my kids have a sibling out there um, doesn't really cross my mind. I mean, I guess I know I guess I know it's true. I mean that they have a half sibling out there, genetically, and they're aware of that as well. That mom was a donor. Not anything that they've ever really asked questions about. Again,
Mm-hmm.
they've grown up in this industry as well, so I mean
Right,
it's all
absolutely.
very familiar with them. But no, I mean that doesn't. I don't ever like sit and wonder where that kid lives and what they're doing now, or that to me is, I don't know. It's I consider the blessing the family side of it,
Uh-huh.
especially with the relationship that we have with her surrogate family, her IPs on the surrogate side. Um, that has been a big impact on me. Obviously, I know that kid, and we know that family very well. They're very special to us. That a little bit different, obviously, than the donor side, because that kid is not genetically related to Katie. She was just the oven, right? But no, I mean, the idea that Katie has another kid out there somewhere has never really, like, I never sat and thought much about that.
Sure, sure. So then, so like you said, kind of during that egg donation process, you were pretty, hey, I'm not doing too much, that kind of thing. How
Right.
did that change when she was a surrogate?
Oh, yeah. A little different. Um, she had three, with our children, she had three. It's easy for me to say as the husband, right? I was never pregnant, but I think she would say she had three pretty easy pregnancies with our kids, relatively. And so,
Uncomplicated.
yeah, I don't want to speak like an idiot husband here, like, pregnancy's easy, no problem.
No, but just uncomplicated. Nothing quite, out of the ordinary.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we had friends, like, one of them was pregnant with twins, with her own twins, and she was on bed rest for, so I
Right.
related to that. And I would say,
Yes.
relatively, they were simple pregnancies. And I think she would say the same. But yeah, I mean, there was, I don't know what it was, 12 weeks of progesterone shots, that Katie was not, willing or able to give to herself. So I did that. And then just, yeah, like pregnancy changes the dynamics of a family. So, I mean, she was fully pregnant, for 9 months. And, it affected her mood at times. It affected what we could do as a family from time. You don't just, when you're 8 months pregnant, you don't just decide to go, on vacation, or something like that. So there was an impact on our family. But nothing that was, I would say, too big of an inconvenience, really. It's not something that came as a surprise that, oh my goodness, now Katie's pregnant. Obviously it's something that's very much planned. And so we planned to not take any family vacations during that 9 months. So it didn't feel like an inconvenience in that way, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, in the moment, you probably think, oh, this thing we're not going to do because she's pregnant, and you feel, even as her as the GC's husband, I felt, maybe even having been through three other pregnancies with our own kids, you even feel a little bit more of a weight of responsibility being pregnant with someone else's kids, you
Mm,
know
yeah.
in a way that's like, not that we were irresponsible, pregnant people with our own, but you're
Sure.
just kind of like, this is something that you want to take extra special care of. So, yeah, it was definitely a more involved process as the husband of a GC relative to the husband of an egg donor.
Sure. Sure. So what did support look like? And was it similar or different than, I mean, you just alluded to, you kind of felt more responsible, I guess, in this case. So what did support look like?
Yeah.
And did that tweak or change based off of your keepers, and then this gestational pregnancy or carrying pregnancy?
So I mean, logistically, I will tell you. So, her intended parents were in Houston. We live in North Dallas. So she used her own OB, like the same OB that, was her doctor when we had all three of our kids, who is in Frisco. I mean, 10 minutes away. She had, um, more doctor's appointments for her surrogate, cycle than she did just for, our pregnancies, just because it's a little bit more involved process. And you've got, again, these intended parents that are, half a state away, that are just kind of, and a endocrinologist that's wanting to know, hey, is this pregnancy going well? So
Yeah.
there are more doctor's appointments, but again, it's not like she's driving to Houston for every doctor's appointment or anything like that. They're 10 minutes away. So, there was more of that. And then, as she grew more and more pregnant, I mean, she's she doesn't like driving anyway, so I was doing all of the driving when it came to those things. So that was part of it. Like I said, the progesterone shots early on in the pregnancy. Um, I am, I guess, sensitive enough to know that, hey, when you're pregnant, like, you're growing a human inside you and you are more tired than normal, and so there was support. Looked like, hey, doing probably a little bit more around the house with the kids, things like that, as especially later on in pregnancy, that you just kind of bear a little bit more of that weight around the house. But I guess in general, and that really wasn't much different than being pregnant with our own kids. It was the same, right? I mean, I think I probably did, probably a little bit more around the house with our own kids as well. So that wasn't really much different. So I would say that's the bulk of it, as far as trying to be, a support system for a GC, was understanding that, yes, your spouse is growing a human inside of her and is tired a little more often. But again, they're the shots towards the beginning of the cycle that I think, I don't know, maybe you would know, but probably a lot of these women, do themselves and don't need help with. But Katie wasn't comfortable with that, so I did the shots.
It was back and forth. My first journey, Josh did mine, and then my second journey,
you were comfortable with it and just did it yourself. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's that to me. Like, that's really all there was to it. I didn't feel like inconvenienced or, any more than we did with our own pregnancies, which, like I said, were relatively
uncomplicated.
Yeah, that's a good word. Uncomplicated. So, anyways.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously in your own pregnancies, you're keepers. You're sitting there, you're dreaming, you're thinking of names, all of that. Like, as a husband, generally have an emotional attachment to what's going on.
Yeah.
And maybe it seems a little foreign and then it becomes real when the baby's there, or vice versa. I mean, that varies for everybody.
Sure.
What did delivery day look like in this aspect? And I'm assuming,
man.
Oh, man. Oh, go, Blake, go.
So I will tell you, like, I can't speak for Katie as the GC, but throughout this whole pregnancy, I felt relatively unattached.
Sure.
Like, I knew the intended parents. We had met them, I don't know, throughout this process up until delivery. We had met them and been around them a half dozen times at appointments. They would come up to appointments. Obviously, we also did go down and meet with the clinic, the fertility clinic as well. So met them there. Just kind of had a get to know you meeting before, the like contracts were signed and it became a match, right? Mm-hmm. But to me, I felt fairly unattached, especially relative to our previous pregnancies with our own kids. And this is not like, but the day of delivery, it was just, man, like the coolest experience of my life. And that's not exaggeration. It was the first, even though our 3 kids were born in this same hospital. It was a very new hospital when our firstborn was born. So, like I said, he was born in 2008. I think the hospital maybe opened in 2006.
Okay.
This was the first surrogate birth at our hospital. And so, they didn't have a lot of protocols your standard pregnancy, like, you get one person in the delivery room, whatever. Katie had 3 C-sections with our children. The first one, literally, like, we went in for the appointment the day before the scheduled delivery induction, and overnight he flipped. And so we go in that morning for the induction, and they do the ultrasound, and they're like, nope, he's upside down, and so just schedule the C-section for noon that day. And so that was just kind of normal for us at the time, the fourth one being this surrogate pregnancy. Like we knew what a C-section was going to look like. It was more of an operating room than a delivery room. But there were, like I said, at the hospital, there weren't a lot of protocols. Like, oh goodness, normally it's just one person in the room, but that's not even the father of the baby. Like, what is this? So they were kind enough to basically let all four of us be in the operating room for this delivery, in addition to probably and Katie was okay with this, and as were the IPs, but probably 6 other doctors and nurses that just kind of wanted to see and be a part of this experience of a surrogate delivery. Really just kind of onlookers, to be honest with you. But I'm telling you, if there were 10 people in that operating room, there was not a dry eye in the room. Like, it was the most powerful experience to be a part of that, and a very small part of that that day. But I was by Katie's bed. The intended parents were kind of off in the corner a little bit, looking on. And then we had kind of given instructions to the nurses and doctors, like, when this baby comes out, like, we're not handing it to Katie. We're handing this baby to the intended parents.
Yeah.
And so obviously they're bawling, all the doctors and nurses, like, kind of just having an idea of what they had gone through up to that point to get to the point of of using a surrogate. And just the, the joy and elation in that room, like, it was like nothing I've ever experienced, and really haven't again since then. So that was a super, super powerful experience for me, and it made me connect. It kind of formed a connection to that baby, but not in a way that was like, this is kind of my child. This is just something that I had a very small part in being a blessing to this family. And now, since then, like, we are super close to them. We see them probably 3 or 4 times a year, even though they live 4 hours away. We go down for his birthdays every year. And he just kind of, I guess that relationship has almost kind of turned into like a aunt and nephew relationship, for us. He, is fully aware that he didn't grow in his mommy's belly, that Katie was his surrogate, that he grew in Katie's belly, and that she was his oven. And it really is. It's just a super special relationship. And they have since had 2 other kids that kind of miraculously she was able to carry. Like, they weren't simple pregnancies at all.
Sure.
They were, and actually every time both times that she became pregnant after this surrogate, journey, like, she got the news and started crying because she thought she knew what that meant. Like, this is just going to be a painful, probably, I know what the outcome's going to be. It's going to be physically and emotionally painful. And actually, we were discussing doing a sibling journey at the time when she found out she was pregnant, and she was super sad about it. And she was able to carry that baby full term. She has now 3 children. 2 of them were post surrogate journey that are just super awesome kids. I mean, and so I would say, like, our relationship with Pace is the surrogate baby. His name is Pace. Probably a little bit different than with our other 2 kids, but they're just kind of like our nephews as well. And I don't know, it's just a really cool, unlike any other relationship that we have. You know what I mean? It's just really special.
That is so special. That is so special. So would you say, I mean, how did you and Katie's relationship either, just change or grow or, just either through that process? Obviously, it sounds like post process, that was whenever it really hit you.
Right.
Yeah. Just, I mean, as that support, what did, I mean, how did that grow? How did that change y'all's relationship?
Um, I mean, I would say like Katie is an absolutely awesome person. She is incredibly selfless and thoughtful. And so I consider myself like somewhat of a generous and um, service oriented person. Like I really love, I've got a job that affords me and I also am a little bit like kind of DIY handy. I've got a lot of friends that aren't, and you know, I get the opportunity to go and just help and do just because I enjoy, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like I don't, I'm not as thoughtful as she is. Like the idea of like, man, this person probably could use some help. Like essentially, I need to be asked to help, and I'm always willing to when I am asked. I just don't. Um, but man, I will say, like watching her through that process, and just the idea of helping someone in that way, and having the idea for yourself of helping someone in that way, I just admire her so much. I really do, and I know I was a part of it, a small part of it, but it just grew that admiration that I have for her so much, to be able to be willing to give of yourself in that way. That is no small feat. Like a long, all in all, like 12-month process when you start, talking about what goes into the, psychological evaluations, and, just the everything that happens before you're actually pregnant, So it is just something that for me, like, grew my admiration for her, and um, makes me incredibly proud of who she is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're so funny. You keep saying you were such a small part of the process. And I mean, as someone who did it twice, I will
Yes.
say, having Josh always in my corner, that was huge. And that support system is so huge for carriers. So, I mean, I know
Maybe
obviously.
it's just, I don't know. Like, I understand that, yes, having someone who supports you and loves you through it, and is there for the big things and the little things.
Yeah.
I guess it's just, I think, relative to what you did, right? And what Katie did, what I did, it feels a little bit like that, right? I mean, I didn't carry a baby. I didn't grow a human inside me for 9 months and then go through the delivery. So I agree. It is not small. It just, in a way, relative to what the surrogate goes through, it feels a little bit small.
Relative. We can say relative, but
Yeah,
still important.
but still very important. I would agree with that. Yes.
So, what advice, having gone through both kind of, supporting her through egg donation, which was more kind of short and sweet and I guess pretty to the point,
Yeah,
versus.
and I would add, like, that egg donation process, like, we don't call it anonymous anymore, right? Because it really, in this world of social networks and facial recognition software and all that, like, if an intended parent or a donor conceived person wants to try and find out who their donor was, they can,
Yeah.
but it was, for all intents and purposes, anonymous. Like, we never met the intended parents. We don't know their names. They knew Katie as her donor number. So that was a big part of that, right? Like, you're relatively disconnected from from the other party. So anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I interrupted with
No,
that.
you're good. No, but you're exactly right. I mean, it is so almost nuclear, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so big and out there, and this was really just the two of you, and it was shots in one day, and not to say that it's not big, and you absolutely need that support system, and it just looks different whenever you're going through the surrogacy process, for sure. So
Right.
what would be maybe your advice, whether it's to one versus the other or overall, that maybe you would give to the supporting person in, that position?
Um, so I have had several conversations with husbands of women who are considering being a GC.
Sure.
Um, and they have different questions. Some of them have questions like, man, how do you deal with the idea that your wife's carrying a baby for another person? And for me, like, my answer to that is, when, because there are awkward moments in public. I just laughed about it. I'd make a joke like, "Oh, when is she due? When's your baby due?" And I'm like, "Ah, it's not mine." I just kind of make light of it, or that's just my nature, I think. I did not, like I said, just kind of like the egg donation thing when you were asking about the idea of there being another child out there that's related. Um, that to me, like I said, I guess I looked at it very kind of pragmatically, like, we're just helping. Like, this is not anything that is that I have a fatherly attachment to this child. It's just something that we're able to do to help. And so I understand that there are people out there, there are both GCs and spouses that might struggle with the idea of either, like, having um, more of a connection to that, or more of a hang up about, man, my wife's carrying someone else's baby. But to me, that was not a big concern. It was not something that I considered, really. I looked at more of it through, like, a service lens, like, this is something we are able to do. Again, Katie's pregnancies were relatively simple, uncomplicated, and she's willing to do it. I am more than willing. And in the task that she's taking on, again, relative to that, I am more than willing to be her support. So, but as far as being that support, yeah, I mean, I would say, be prepared for another pregnancy, because it was, and just kind of, obviously, if you're going through this process, you have been pregnant before. So you should have an idea of what that looks like. And so yeah, be fully prepared to be the supportive, spouse that you were before, but also with a little bit more, like I said, maybe a few more doctor's appointments. You probably didn't deal with, the medications and the shots, with previous pregnancies. So there is a little bit of that, but, and then, like, I understand that the relationship between GCs and IPs don't all look the same. Not every GC has the same experience that we had with our IPs. Some of them are a little bit more. Probably some of them are even closer. Especially if you are local, and live in the same town. Like,
Yeah.
I've heard stories of them kind of almost like becoming best friends throughout the process, and Katie and her IP are very close friends, but they didn't get together every week or every day, just to hang out, because we're not
Sure.
local. But yeah, I mean, I would say, like, in a way, just kind of be prepared to be a little bit taken aback by that process. Like, I was not expecting to be that emotional, in a good way. Like, just like the impact of, gosh, this is a human life that was only brought into this world through the help that we were able to give. Like, that, man, that's a big, heavy thought. And so, and this family that is now created because we were able and willing to help. That was kind of a big, heavy moment for me. And it was powerful and it was awesome. And it's, like I said, something that we will probably never experience, like, a feeling like that again, partly because after her fourth C-section, Katie's OB was like, "You've got enough scar tissue now. We probably don't need to do this again," because we were even exploring doing it again. Um, but yeah, I think being available as a spouse, being emotionally supportive, but also just kind of being there, being present, and understanding, like, yes, this is another pregnancy, but it's not the same kind of pregnancy. You know what I mean? Like, this is not our child. So there may be different emotions surrounding that as well, both during the pregnancy and after.
Yeah. Did you have any support? Obviously you were supportive of Katie. Did you have any support? Did you feel like you needed any support?
So we have, I guess it was more just kind of encouragement more than anything, kind of the same way I was talking about my relationship with Katie. Like, we did have several people, like, whether they're at church or just family friends, that were really just amazed,
Mm-hmm.
that Katie and I were willing to do this, and so encouraging of, like, man, that is such an awesome thing that y'all are doing. Such a cool blessing that you're able to give to someone else. So I would say most of the support I experienced was just kind of like encouragement more than anything. That really did make me, at the time, like, kind of take a step back and, like, yeah, you're right. This is not just a normal, like, favor that we're doing for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Um, this is a big thing. So yeah, I would say that was my experience. We did not experience much pushback at all from, we had maybe a family member or two that were like, gosh, I don't, this is serious. Like, this is pregnancy, can be dangerous. And you have your own kids to worry about. And you have, and our answer to that was really like, you know what? Like, we have a responsibility to our kids, a responsibility not just, like, physically to provide for them, but also a responsibility to grow them and to teach them about generosity. And, like, what bigger lesson can we give our kids in generosity and service and helping people than something like this? So that was, you know, that was really our answer to that one or two family member that were like, that's, I don't know why you're willing to do this when you have kids of your own that you're responsible to. Like, yeah, it's not
Sure.
just a physical responsibility, though. It's a responsibility to teach them and to grow them into humans that are putting good back into the world. So
Hmm.
it was the example that we were trying to set for them, that more than anything. And like I said, now they've got a super cool special relationship with that little boy too. Now, like,
Yeah.
it's really neat. It's super special. So
That's sweet. That's really, really sweet. I think one of my favorite moments was for my kids. It was my first journey, and the intended mom, she brought in, it was twins, and she brought in the girls, and my kids were all there, visiting me, and she was like, "Look, it's your first friends." I was like, "Oh, my kids, they're their first
that's awesome. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And
friends."
it's, like, again, Katie having had a C-section, like, we were in the hospital for a few days after, the
Uh-huh.
delivery, right? And
Yes.
so she was recovering in the hospital, and baby was super healthy, so essentially ready to be discharged, the next day. Um, but they stayed in town, and basically the intended parents, they stayed in town, and because they live in Houston. They were in Dallas, for the delivery, but stayed in town for a couple of days until Katie was discharged. Would bring Pace up, to visit all that for the next couple of days.
Oh.
And then, like, obviously, so they were there for the delivery. Both of their parents were there, in the waiting room. for the delivery. Came up from Houston as well. They're both originally from Houston, so all their families are there. So yeah, like grandparents were there, and then obviously like Katie's family was there, just kind of supporting. My parents were there. Like it was, we had, I mean, a lot of pregnancies. There's a lot of family and extended family in the waiting room, but then we had both, you know, Katie's extended family, my extended family, and then IF and IM's extended family. Like it was literally we filled the entire waiting room.
Oh my God.
They're getting to know each other, and it was like a giant circus, but it was awesome. Like it was such a cool experience.
That's really neat. That is so fun. So so I have two more questions for you. One of them silly. What was going back to, you had mentioned like out in public and, just that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
What was the wildest either comment or question that you got just as the spouse?
I mean, when you're out in public, like you look just like a pregnant couple, right? I mean, and the only thing that ever kind of made it awkward was our youngest is just, she is just a fireball and full of energy and never met a stranger. And so like we'd be in a line at the grocery store and she'd be like, my mom's pregnant, but it's not ours, just like making random like comments to strangers like that. And so like, we're like, yeah, I'm a surrogate. Like this is not even brought on by the stranger. It's like, we've brought this on ourselves in a way because of our spunky little, whatever she was, I guess probably 4 or 5 year old at the time that just, she needs everyone to know that mommy's a surrogate, So yeah, there were several of those occasions where she just, perfect stranger is just like, hey, this is, my mommy's pregnant, but it's not ours. We don't get to keep it. So I would say, and that happened on more than one occasion. But no, we never really had any like super awkward or, there were times where maybe it's, an older lady who was just like, oh, like super concerned or like not real familiar with what the process looked like. And so just, okay, well, good luck. And then just go on our way or whatever. And you just kind of laugh it off,
Yeah.
But yeah, most of them were just like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like knew the process existed, but didn't really know much about it. And so we're just like, wow, this is a real life surrogate out in the wild, like,
right. They're not like a lifetime.
Yes. I got the chance today to meet a woman carrying baby for someone else and probably went home and told her husband about it or whatever. So,
that's too funny.
Yeah. Just kind of surprised was our most common reaction was just like, okay, cool. All right. Well, good luck, so that was our most, that was what we experienced most of the time. Just like,
that's awesome.
Oh, this is not just a normal pregnant woman, in the store. This is
sure.
This is a surrogate. So
what a great opportunity for education. Thanks, Maggie.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Was there anything, I think my final question, was there anything that you wish you knew then that you know now after going, through both kind of things?
One thing that comes to mind, like that's really not, wish I'd have known this going in, but like, I will say we had to, because of the relationship, because of the kind of people that our intended parents are, and because of our relationship with them, like, we probably saw them once or, at least almost monthly, I would say, for that first year or so despite living 4 hours away, after delivery. And like, I kind of wish this was a conversation, I guess, that we would have had beforehand. And maybe you don't know that you're going to have that feeling or whatever, but it was like every time we got together, or out to eat or whatever, they're trying to pay for it. And they're like, this is the least we can do we don't have to try and repay it, you know, like, let's just have this cool relationship. And that honestly, like, seeing you parent your child is kind of the repayment we need for it. So like, just knowing the way that we've blessed you and being able to see that and experience that is really more than enough. We don't need to be repaid like for this. Like, this is not anything that you're ever going to, you know, gift us enough to be like, all right, now we're even, right? Like, we're not going to ever be even, and let's just recognize that and move on. Just be.
Well, it's a different kind of even, right? Like, just like you said, watching you become parents was the gift. That was our biggest gift. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. And so, like, I wish I would have known going in that, like, yes, these IPs were going to feel this indebtedness to us, and maybe tried to have that discussion beforehand. Outside of that, anything I wish I would have known going in beforehand? I don't think there were really anything super unexpected. Like I said, she had delivered, I guess maybe, you know, maybe if that was our first experience with a C-section, right? Like, that would have been, whoa, okay, this is pretty different. Like, recovery from this looks different. And the delivery itself looks very different. But no, I mean, I don't think there was anything, having been through 3 pregnancies before, that I was super surprised by or anything like that. But yeah, like, in a way, I guess I would say, man, I kind of wish I knew how that would hit me. I mean, I was in tears and I was like emotional for like days after the delivery. Like, just, I did not expect that at all. I kind of expected it more as like kind of a business transaction. Like, okay, you know, here's your baby. Like, we can go on your merry way, you know, salutations. But, no, like, it was super deep and powerful. And I don't know how you could prepare for that, you know, but maybe just a conversation with someone saying that had been through that before and being like, yeah, this hit me hard, like, in a good way, never like, you know, any remorse or anything like that. It was just like, was not expecting to be overcome with emotion in that way. So I guess maybe that would be the only other thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so amazing. It's fun to, I mean, I've certainly talked to Josh, and I've talked to, you know, as a coordinator, I've talked to other spouses.
Sure.
Rarely, but like on occasion, and very rarely. And so I so appreciate you sharing your story, just, you know, through both programs and all of that. And, you know, I think it's really easy to, like you said, you're looking at the person who's actually carrying the baby, but, you know, her whole family's there, or, you know, whatever that support system looks like. So, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we often say literally, like, it is the best thing we've ever done as a family. Yeah, the relationship that we got out of it with our IPs, and just, I think it's just an incredible, like, life lesson to our children as well. Like, this is, you know, it's not terribly different. We also are a foster family. We have a foster son in our care right now. He's 14, and like, that's another thing that's just like, yeah, like, this is a way that we can give and help. We've been blessed. We can bless others. And so, yeah, we often refer to it as like, yeah, the best thing we've ever done as a family. So
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your so busy day, I'm sure.
You bet. Absolutely.
And, you know, I know other people out there will appreciate this perspective as well. So thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
You have just finished listening to an episode of Me, You, and Who. To find out more about egg donor and surrogate solutions, go to www.createahappyfamily.com.